Hi everybody, it's Heather with Diamonds and Dragonflies, and thank you for joining me today for my weekly whip and chat. Bleh. Words are hard this morning. It is Monday, September 9th that I am filming this. I am in a lot of pain. My hand really hurts today. So we're gonna try and get through this though. It kind of felt fitting that I'm in pain and struggling a little bit today because of what the topic of today is going to be. I'll get into that in a minute. So for starters, I want to welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Hello to all of you new people that have found me, or if this is your first time ever watching one of my videos, welcome. I am very happy to have you here. The past week or two has been a whirlwind with hitting 1,000 subscribers. I had 10 new people join my Patreon, so 10 new members of the Diamond Tribe. We're up to 33 now, which is just mind-blowing. And I feel so blessed. I truly do. I truly feel so lucky and so fortunate to have all of you. We're coming up on 1 year of Diamonds and Dragonflies, guys. 1 year. I put up my first video October 2nd, so of 2023. So it's rapidly approaching, and it just, wow, what a year! Really, what a year. If you have been with me for a while, thank you. There is no amount of thanks or gratitude I could show that would ever express how much it means to me that you all have been here with me from the very beginning, some of you. And I am truly, truly grateful for having you all in my life. Today's Whip and Chat is going to be a little different. It's not really going to be about what's going on in my life right now. It only seemed fitting that this video is going to go up on 9/11. And I am participating in an event called In Memory Of. And it is an event in memory of 9/11. And I am working on this kit, American Star Welcome. It's from JeniRose Designs. It's a square. This is my first Dreamer square. So it's not going so bad, guys. I mean, yes, there is more gapping than what I have in most other square kits, but not as horrible as I've heard some people say. So maybe they've changed again. I don't know. I don't really follow Dreamer, so to speak. Like, they don't have a VIP group like we do that's as active, that kind of thing. But so I don't know. But this is by Kathy Horvath Buchanan. And it's a square, and it's 40 by 50 centimeters. So it's a little bigger than a snacky snack, but pretty close to one. And it was just fitting. I purchased this thinking I would have to wait until next year to do it for 4th of July or Memorial Day. So when I saw that Lee was hosting an event in memory of, along with the help of a bunch of other small shop owners, other creators, and it's just a paint along. There's no prizes, no giveaways. It's just a relaxed paint along. There is a Facebook group, and we just share. And I was very grateful that he invited me and asked me to participate. For those of you who might not know who Lee is by name, he is part of L&L Diamond Painting. It's him and his wife, Lee and Lenora. I don't know if it's Lenora or just Lenore, so I apologize if I got that wrong. But he is a member of the community that tries to be at pretty much every live he can, and he sets up a buffet table and all the things to just make everyone feel at home. So he's a very vital and special member of the community. So I was very touched when he invited me to participate. I'm going to really quick go through my accessories so that we can get into what we're here to talk about today. And today is in memory of 9/11. Do you remember where you were? I sure remember where I was. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So let's start with my project bag. This was custom made for me by Catherine, owner of Wolfgazer Studios. She is also a member of my Patreon. But I told her I needed a rush job of a patriotic bag for this event, and she came through like she always does. So she made this bag for me that I purchased from her. What makes this even more special is this is vintage fabric that her mom had, and it's very fitting because obviously it is vintage. It was purchased many moons ago, and it has that weathered look, and I feel that that's appropriate. I actually have a diamond painting that I did that I just took down from over my mantle to put up a Halloween one. But it is an American flag, and it has been up there since May. And it is a weathered looking diamond painting of an American flag. And I kind of feel like that's how the United States is now. We are weathered. We've got a lot of scars, a lot of water under the bridge and over the bridge and in the bridge and everywhere. So it was very fitting. So this is this side of it. And then this is the other side, which I thought was very fitting as well. So I actually get nostalgic every time I look at this bag. I also feel very proud. Really gives me a sense of pride. But this is my project bag. All that's inside it right now is the washi that I chose to use. This is from the 4th of July collection of Simply Gilded. So I have that around, and the original bag of drills, and I am going to talk about that for a second. So this is what they gave me for $38.55. This is what $38.55 is in pixie dust, and also in every other spare drill that I had. So not quite sure what Dreamer was thinking giving me this for $38.55, but definitely not the right color. So I decided to swap it out for some pixie dust. And then the rest of my release papers are in here. These are hollow stars. This is, I guess I have it upside down. This is some 4th of July release paper that Bee's Crafty Corner put out this summer. I purchased it so that I would have it for next year, and then I got to use it this year. So I was really excited about that. So, but yeah, this is hollow stars. That just seemed kind of fitting. But we've got the flag, and then there's some roses or carnations in red and blue, and then a drink and a fireworks and a rocket. So I thought that was very fitting. So that's what's in here right now because I took everything else out. I already showed you the picture. I didn't have any patriotic cover minders. I don't know what's up with that. So I used my red and white glitter butterflies cover minders that I got from Art de Nicole. So these were 2 resin cover minders that they made. They've got the resin is built, or one magnet is built into the resin. And then on the outside, so I'm using those. So I had white and blue. And then I'm using my red pen from Vicki Peterson from Lady Lathe Customs by Design co-op. She made this for me. I told her, she put this this blank, or one like it, was put into a drop she did over the summer. That was the Prince drop, and it was named Little Red Corvette. And I put in to win, and I did not win. And I contacted her, and I'm like, Vicki, you don't by any chance happen to have another blank that you could turn? And she goes, why, yes, I do. So she made me this gorgeous pen. And she put, I look at it as little stars on it for me. So I've got my DAC, Diamond Art Club, 6 thin multi-placer and my single placer. They are glued in. I've started gluing in my my tips. I'm going to use the September scent of the month, which is Macintosh Apple from Black Dahlia. And then in my single placer, I have Honeysuckle and Peach from Randa's Crafty Corner, super hard and sticky. And then this was recently sent to me by one of my Patreon members. And she also just opened her first small shop, Wendy K's Designs. I'll have her listed below. And she made this trinket tray for me, and I love it. I absolutely love it. She did a phenomenal job. This tray is just, I don't know that you can really see all the glitter, but it is so sparkly, and it just means the world to me. So thank you, Wendy, so very much for making that for me. I love it. I'm hydrating today with a custom JeniRose tumbler that she made for me. She had this on a kid's sippy cup, and I'm like, I want the little monsters. Can you put it on a big tumbler for me? And by George, she did. So she made this for me. Thank you, Jenny. I always, every day, drink out of a tumbler. 90% of my collection comes from JeniRose Designs. She's got an Etsy shop and a Shopify. I also have a discount code with her, Dragonfly 10. I have that with Black Dahlia too, guys, and Vicki. And Wolfgazer is Dragonfly 20. So you can save 20% off from Wolfgazer. But 90% of my collection is from JeniRose. The other 10% is a combination of Bird Dog and Butterfly Kisses Customs. I have a few from both of them. So thank you very much. And then for this one, guys, I'm kitted up into trays. There was only 32 colors. So I used almost an entire tower of larges. These are all the 3.1 trays by Bella. And then this one used not quite an entire tower of smalls. And then I had one that I needed a max tray for. So I am kitted up into my Bella Art de Nicole trays. These cover minders were from Bella. And then my trash minder is one of the little train cars that was blue. Unfortunately, I never bought the patriotic one for July. I've got to see if it's still available. I need to catch up on my train cars. But using that as my trash minder today. So let me get started here. Let's pull this off, see what it's going to be. The rest of this star is going to be primarily what we're going to be working on today. I don't know how much diamond painting itself I'm going to get done, simply because my hand really hurts, guys. Really, really hurts. I'm hoping that once I start using it, it'll loosen up some. So let's just dive in here. So growing up, we're going to go back a little ways here. I was born in 1972. I was born during an era of getting our oil from the Middle East, and there being a lot of conflict with the PLO and a lot of conflict between Israel and other parts of the Middle East. I grew up during a time where Middle Eastern terrorists hijacked airplanes all the time. They were always international, originating in a foreign country. There was the Lockheed hijacking over Scotland that was headed to the U.S. I was too little to remember where the plane was coming from, but it was originating overseas. That was hijacked and sat on an Iranian airfield that President Carter, which he was no longer in office, but he negotiated the release of all of those hostages, the ones that had not been shot and killed. That was my childhood. That's what we grew up with. I grew up in the Cold War. I grew up with the unrest in the Middle East. It's been going on practically for a lifetime. And hijackings were something that you heard about all the time. They just didn't happen in the United States. At that point in time, as of September 9th, 2001, there had never been a large-scale terrorist attack on U.S. soil. The only attack that had ever occurred on U.S. soil was during World War II and the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And even though Hawaii, of course, was a state and that was U.S. territory, you know, Hawaii and Alaska aren't... A lot of Americans don't feel a connection to them or feel like it happened at home because they are not connected to the other 45 of us. So the acts of the morning of September 11th, 2001 made us all feel vulnerable. I think to a point the U.S. had sat on, I don't want to say a pedestal, but we were safe. We were untouchable. We had seen for the previous couple of years multiple terrorist attacks happening all over Europe. There was the Paris subway bombing. There were bombings in the UK. Suicide bombings. And it was scary and it was terrifying. And we sat back and we watched our allies having to endure this and that loss. And did it touch us? Yes, of course it did. I mean, as long as you're freaking human, at least in my opinion, you know, but it wasn't the same. I was at home with 2 of my 3 children. Emily had just turned 11 months old the day before. William was 22 months old as of the day before. Samantha was 8 years old and she was at school. I get a phone call and it's from my husband and he's like, "Can you turn on the news?" And it was my ex-husband, Bill, the father of my children. He calls me from work and we had cell phones, I believe, but they were the flip phones we didn't have smartphones. They weren't a thing that everybody had, if they were a thing at all. I don't even remember. So he calls me from work from the landline and he's like, "Can you flip on the news? We're listening to the radio and they said that a plane just crashed into one of the World Trade Center towers." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." So I flipped on the news. I turned on the TV and I went to, I think Tom Brokaw on NBC is where I went. And I flipped it on and I was standing in front of the couch getting ready to sit down. And I went, "Oh my God." I had turned it on just in time to see the second plane hit the second tower. And my husband was saying to me, you know, did somebody fly their little Cessna into there? Because that had happened before. Someone had hit the World Trade Center with their little prop plane. And I was in the process of saying, no, Bill, it was a 7:57. When I sat there and watched the second plane hit the tower. I had Emily in my arms. I was holding her. And I literally fell to my knees. And the ticker tape, that set of information that runs along the bottom of the TV screen when you're watching the news, was saying that there were reports of a bomb going off at the Pentagon, which of course turned out to not be that a bomb went off, but that a plane had crashed into the Pentagon. I lived an hour and 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. The news then erupted into all sorts of reports. There were bombs going off on the mall in Washington, that they had evacuated the Capitol, that there was a bomb that had gone off at the Capitol. They were evacuating the World Trade Center at the Baltimore Harbor, because we have our own World Trade Center in Baltimore, 30 minutes away. I remember Emily sitting on my lap, and when I fell to my knees, she wanted me to let her go. She wanted to go scurrying away. And I held on to her for dear life. And I remember calling William to come over and just sitting on the floor hugging my children. I remember William saying, "Why are you crying, Mommy?" I had dropped the phone. The phone was laying on the floor near me, and I heard Bill yelling for me, "Heather, are you there? Heather, are you okay?" And I went to say something to him, and the line went dead. And I was terrified. I started calling his cell phone, and all circuits were busy. I couldn't get through. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. I just sat there and I watched in horror and in terror. I literally thought the world was going to end. I'm watching the news broadcast, and of course they had cameras just, aimed directly at the World Trade Centers. And I'm watching people jump out of the building. Because they didn't want to burn to death. I was sitting there watching when the tower fell, the first tower fell. And it was like I was watching a movie, that it was, this can't be happening. This just cannot be happening. I thought of all the firefighters and the police officers and EMTs that were in those towers, that was in that tower trying to save people. And now they were dead. Or most likely, they were dead. Reports were coming across that the U.S., that another plane had been hijacked, the one that ended up crashing Flight 93, that crashed into, it was Flight 93, right? 91, 93. Wow, I can't remember the flight number now. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it was Flight 93. I don't have my iPad today. You know what? Before I go any further, I want to verify that information. I'll be right back. Okay, yeah, it was Flight 93. I was right the first time. And that it was headed to D.C., and that President Bush had ordered F-15s to take it out. And then you heard that the plane went down in a field. And then there was the object horror for so many people, because at the time we thought that the plane had been shot down. That was what the media was reporting. It wasn't until later, and I can't remember if it was the same day or if it was days later, because everything flew, it all rolled together. Until we found out that it was the passengers that stormed the cockpit and gave their own lives to save the rest of us. Had the U.S. not reacted, had Bush not ceased air traffic as quickly as he did that day, it would have been so much worse. In later months, it was discovered that there were a total of 11 sets of terrorists that were boarding planes to hijack and destroy. And I thank God every day that we responded as quickly as we did. Atlas, please stop. Atlas. I'll be back, guys. Sorry about that. Obviously, Atlas has his feelings about terrorists, too. As a country, we weren't the same anymore. As a citizen, we weren't the same anymore. Our homeland had been attacked. How could this have happened on U.S. soil? Yes, I know that there are all sorts of conspiracy theories out there that it was faked by the United States, that we knew about it and did nothing. And so much information would come out over the next 5 years, 10 years, 23 years. Do I believe that the United States government had anything to do with this? No, I do not. And you can have your opinions, and please keep them to yourselves. I believe in my country. I believe in the United States. I am proud to be an American. I remember feeling helpless and terrified. The door opened and my husband walked in the door just as the second tower fell. And we both stood there and watched in abject horror. He told me to pack a bag for the kids and that we were going to go get Samantha. So I threw together a bag with a couple changes of clothes in it for all of us. He told me not to worry about toiletries except for the kids, that we could just stop and get stuff for ourselves if we needed to. We got in the car and we drove and got Samantha. Picked her up from school, put her in the car with her brother and sister. And I remember looking at Bill and asking him where we were going, what were we doing? And he said, I don't know, but we're going to be together no matter what. And we just drove. We just drove. We never reached any sort of destination. We just had the news on in the car on the radio, which we never listened to. Our news came from 98 Rock during the morning show, when they would give little brief snippets of world events, so to speak. Sammy was singing in the back of the car every song that came on the radio that she knew, which was a lot. And we just drove. We didn't talk about what we had just witnessed, the horror of what we had just seen. We were reminiscing about milestones with the kids. I remember we ended up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And we used to take the kids up there all the time. And we would go to KFC, get a bucket of chicken, and go to Devil's Den and have a picnic. And then climb on the rocks. Samantha loved climbing on the rocks. We went to go buy KFC to get a bucket of chicken, and it was closed. They had sent everybody home. We couldn't find any restaurant that was open. I don't know why we didn't think about going to a grocery store and getting, you know, from the hot deli chicken, but we didn't. We just went back to Devil's Den. And we sat there in the field where we normally would have a picnic. We had the car radio still playing. and sitting next to the car. And I just watched my children play. I watched Sammy climbing on the rocks. William was just running around in circles. And Emily was chasing after him. And I remember feeling like if this was going to be it and this was the end, that there was no place in the world I would rather be than right there with my family. I remember the day after everything still being closed. My husband's work was closed. They wanted everyone to just stay at home because they didn't know if it was over. If they had put a stop to it and thwarted the terrorists' plans. I remember being afraid to turn the news on. It's like you wanted to know what was going on, but you were also scared to death to find out what was going on. My husband's work ended up being, they shut down for the whole week, for the rest of that week, because it was a Tuesday morning. And we just spent time together as a family. Because yes, we did end up going back home. We had to feed the kids. What happened the next few days was the most amazing and spectacular thing I'd ever seen. This country was so united. You watched the news daily, hoping that they were going to find someone alive. People from all over the country came to help sort and sift through the wreckage, hoping upon hoping that they were going to find someone alive, that somehow they had survived. If memory serves me, I think they ended up pulling 4 people out of the rubble. Of the 3,000 plus people who got buried and died in those towers. All of the first responders that sacrificed and gave their lives to try and help and save total strangers. But it didn't matter because they were Americans. And that's what they did. That's who they were. I guarantee you, if any of them were able to speak to us from the grave, they would tell us that there is no other place that they would have rather been that day. Because that's who first responders are. They don't do the job for the glory. They do the job because they are people that are willing to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of others, to save other people. Would they have rather walked away? Of course. But if they had to die that day, that's how they would have wanted to die. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to go into work and have a plane crash into your office. To basically be incinerated from the blast and explosion of jet fuel. To slowly burn to death from the fire. How it felt to be standing in the tower as it collapsed and you got crushed under all of that twisted metal. Six or 7 years ago, we took a day trip to New York and we went to the 9/11 Museum. We spent 6 hours and we still didn't see it all. Am I angry at my country because the signs were there and we just didn't see them? Yes. Yes, I am. But then at the same time, what other country is actually going to stand up and say, look, we fucked up? The signs were there that something was going to happen. We should have caught them sooner. We should have been able to thwart their plans. Took 10 years to find Osama bin Laden. But while he was hiding and moving underground from place to place, we got to stand up and be in the sun. We got to celebrate our lives. We got to be proud to be Americans. I've never seen our country come together the way that it did after 9/11. Everywhere you went, you would see the bumper stickers of them lifting the flag onto the mound. You would see the signs that said, never forget. We will never forget. Unfortunately, we did. We did forget. I know I haven't forgotten, but people have forgotten. The amount of division, the amount of anger, that this country holds for each other, for its own citizens, is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. Where is the unity that we felt that day? Why does it have to take such a catastrophe for this country to stand united? I don't know that we learned anything that day. I think we did for a little while. But I don't know that we have. I said to my daughter when she was home this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, I guess, that there's a part of me that's grateful that she didn't have to live with it. She was 11 months old. Obviously, she has no memory of the events of 9/11. And whereas I'm glad that she didn't have to live with that feeling of terror, that fear, part of me regrets the fact that she doesn't have those memories, that she didn't live it, that she didn't experience it, because it changes who you are. It changes how you look at the world. It changes how you feel about your country. I'm not going to sit here and debate and argue politics with anyone. So just know that if you put any dissension or any negative comment on this video, it will not be responded to. It will be removed. You are welcome to have your own feelings, your own opinions, your own thoughts on the event of 9/11, but you are not going to tarnish mine. I can't control a lot. I can control basically pretty much nothing, but I can control this. I am grateful for the sacrifices that our first responders made that day. I am grateful for the sacrifices that our military made going into Iran and Afghanistan to hunt and destroy the evil. I am grateful for the people that protect our country today. The military, the government agencies, everyone that has kept us safe for the past 23 years. I was 28 years old the day the towers fell. When I watch old movies and they show the New York City skyline and I see the Twin Towers, I cry. I have been in those towers. I visited New York many times as a young adult and as a teenager, and I have stood in those towers. I have been to the Pentagon. My family has gone to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and we have seen the crater of where the plane that those brave Americans sacrificed their own lives and took down to save the rest of us. I know a lot of you are too young. You're the ages of my children. Obviously, Samantha was 8, but she's severely autistic. She doesn't know. She didn't know what was going on that day. William was not even 2 years old. But my children went with us to the museum. William and Emily, anyway, not Samantha. And I remember seeing my kids with tears in their eyes. I remember William walking up to me and saying to me that he loved me and that he was sorry that I had to live that I had witnessed that. And how he can only imagine how scary it was. Because he felt fear right then and there, just watching it. I've watched documentaries. I've watched movies. I had someone ask me one day how could I watch a movie and watch them fall? And I said, because it doesn't come close to how it was to witness it the day it happened. You had to have been there. And I don't mean physically be there. You had to be watching it unfold on TV. I saw the second plane hit. I saw both towers fall. Those are images that you don't get out of your head. I saw all the pictures of everybody on the street. And from all the dust and debris, you couldn't tell the skin color of anyone because everybody was covered in gray ash. It wasn't about white or black or pink, blue, or purple. We were all equal and united that day. And for the days to come. We can't control the actions of others, but we can control the actions of ourselves. A random act of kindness goes a very long way. And only we can make a difference, and only we can make the choice to treat our fellow Americans differently. You can disagree with someone without being hateful. There's nothing wrong with healthy debate. There's a time and a place for it. And that doesn't mean that you have to be nasty and hurtful and hateful. So I ask you today, to do a kindness. Do a random act of kindness. Whether it's you pay it forward at Starbucks, or you offer to help someone carry their groceries to their car, or if you just look at a random stranger and say, I hope you have a great day. Hug your kids. call them if they live someplace else and just tell them, I love you. Say a prayer for those that gave their life and made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank whatever God you pray to that you are here today, and that you are grateful for those that thwarted any future plans that allow you to be here today. And make a commitment to never forget. I know I have. I apologize for nothing today. I don't apologize for my whip and chat being pretty intense. I don't know that I even want to call this a whip and chat. Know, though, that you are all loved and that you are all cherished. And I am grateful that you are all here today. And that the acts that happened on 9/11 did not take you from this world. I will be back next week with happy, joyful, silly stories to share. But until then, please remember, without the darkness, we'd never get to see the stars. I love you all. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighbors. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.